Although my next guest says this bill would have provided a firm regulatory framework for the industry. He calls the delay a setback, but is still hopeful something can get done soon. Let's bring in Hunter Horsey. He's the CEO of Bitwise Asset Management. Why do you think this bill was necessary? Hunter, welcome.
Kelly, it's great to see you. In general, it's always helpful for investors and for a space becoming more mainstream to have clarity. So this bill would be constructive to that end. But I think at the same time, what you heard from Brian there is that a bad bill or something counterproductive is worse than no bill. The reality is that the Genius Act passed last summer. The space is hurtling forward. Corporates, our clients, banks and institutions are engaging and investing in the space. The space is making progress regardless. So if there's an opportunity to enhance clarity, that would be good. And I think that we will get there.
What needs to be enhanced? What's unclear right now?
So some of the things that I think would give large institutions like our clients, banks, wealth management firms, hedge funds, clarity would be more specific language around the treatment of DeFi, for instance. There are a lot of firms that want to tokenize securities, equities. You've heard that from some of the world's largest asset managers. They want to, if possible, know clearly what the rules of the road are. So I think that those are the benefits that could come from a great version of this bill.
But the bill was saying it would not allow tokenization. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. So I think both sides have a lot of goodwill and good faith here. But the draft that was circulated really killed rewards on stablecoins, put a ban on tokenizing securities, which contradicts the message from Chair Atkins at the SEC, who believes that traditional assets should come on chain, and makes writing software, DeFi, very difficult. So I don't think it's coming from a place of attempting to be counterproductive. I think the reality is that these are complex issues and there's a lot of voices. Yeah. And so what we heard from Senator Scott is they need more time. And that's really the development this week.
It sounds to me like post Genius, the industry felt like it has a stable enough regulatory framework to operate with the banking system and so forth. Like I'm not sure it needs much further on that front. And correct me if I'm wrong, this would have gone a step further, which is to say allowing the tokenization of stocks, allowing the yields and all these other kind of financial plays that you mentioned, which while they would be nice for those business models, it sounds like instead of advancing and meeting those goals that a Coinbase would obviously have, it was actually prohibiting them. So why does the industry want this bill at all?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Things are moving forward. I'm speaking regularly with the CEO of banks. The banks are coming into the space. It's no longer just a sort of a sideshow crypto industry. The traditional financial services space is now part of this ecosystem and trying to bring the benefits to their clients. So I think that in general, having more clarity around things like tokenization would be good. But if what's going to come down is ultimately counterproductive, then it'd be better not to have one, not to have a bill here, because as you said, there already are other forms of clarity. And the market's also up this year. The Bitwise 10 crypto index fund is up 11% year to date. So things are going well, and this would be great if it can come out in a good form. I think it will get there. But if not, it's not a make or break thing. The space is happening anyways.
So finally, I was going to ask you about that, the strong performance we've had since the turn of the year. What to you is driving that? And does it seem to you like the kind of move where, okay, that was it, that correction down to, forget it, we got 80s, however low we got in the fall, that's over and behind us now?
It's hard to keep track of prices in crypto. Yes, I do. I think that there are idiosyncratic developments in the fall that we chatted about last time we were together. But the main trend that people shouldn't lose sight of is that demand is growing, adoption is growing. We just launched a Chainlink ETF this week. Access is expanding. I'll tell you an email I got from a client. It's a large wealth management team at a bank. Just yesterday, they put 1% of clients' assets into Bitcoin this week. So all we see is continued adoption and demand in the space. And I think prices are headed higher amidst that.